Welcome to today's Explainer. Usually, we look at charts, data, the everyday mechanisms of the world, but today, step into the archives with me. We're opening a rather dusty, somewhat forbidding volume of occult texts and literary history. We're diving headfirst into a grim, dark fantasy of the soul, the mercurial shadow. We're going to examine the chilling parallels between two truly legendary figures, the dark aspect of the god Hermes and Mephistopheles, the archdevil of 10,000 hells. So button up your coats, it's going to get cold.
Right, let's jump straight in. The text we're examining today doesn't start with a polite greeting. It starts with a theft, and not of your purse. No, it's a theft of your bearings. Imagine stepping into a fog so incredibly thick, it just steals the breath right from your lungs. These entities operate by stealing the traveler's sense of direction, distorting, shifting paths until you're stranded in a Faustian void, a place where up and down simply cease to exist. You are left entirely, hopelessly, without a compass.
Section 1. Crossroads of 10,000 Hells. To even begin to understand this void, we first have to look at liminal spaces, those cold, suspended moments of transition between worlds where the mortal soul is at its absolute most vulnerable.
Section 2. Masters of the Gray Zone. You see, neither of these figures operates in pure light or in absolute dark. They are the undisputed masters of the uncanny spaces in between, manifesting in sudden, jarring shifts that throw everything off balance.
Let's be perfectly clinical with our terminology for a moment. A psychopomp is historically known as a soul guide, an entity tasked with escorting the newly deceased to the afterlife. But as our sources detail, in its dark form, the psychopomp absolutely does not offer comfort. It haunts the in-between. It embodies the cold transition between this world and the next, functioning far less like a gentle shepherd and much, much more like a warden escorting a prisoner in the terrifying silence of the crossroads.
Now, these specific traits build a very precise profile, what the texts call the mercurial archetype, and honestly, the logic clicks into place beautifully here. Both figures share these precise traits. They're masters of boundaries. Hermes is the only Greek god who travels between Olympus, Earth, and Hades totally at will, just as Mephistopheles is an archdevil who brazenly walks the earth and converses directly with God in the prologue in heaven. They cross forbidden lines with absolute impunity.
Section 3. The Mocker and the Disorienter. We need to look into a cracked mirror now to see where their reflections diverge and where they ultimately converge again.
Here is the crucial point of comparison: their methods. Mephistopheles is famously the spirit that denies. He views humans with this absolute, chilling cynicism, calling them long-legged grasshoppers who try to fly but inevitably just fall back into the dirt. Dark Hermes, conversely, is the spirit that disorients. He's the prince of thieves, a dealer in ghosts and echoes. Yet, they share a profound detachment. Hermes' winged sandals detach him from the earth, giving him a mercurial indifference that perfectly mirrors Mephisto's cold disdain for human dust.
And when you compare their tools, the stark contrast is fascinating. The bright Hermes provides the tools of civilization, weights, measures, the alphabet. He acts as Philocles, a friend to man, helping us rise. But dark Hermes? He provides the obfuscated contract, creating a web of intellectual paralysis. And Mephistopheles? Well, he provides black magic. He certainly doesn't guide you to rise, he gives you the exact tools you need to ensure you fall faster.
Which brings us to a rather terrifying modern concept found hiding in these ancient texts. The dark Hermes doesn't merely deliver a message, he manipulates the medium itself. He is a divine gaslighter, the absolute master of the white lie. And his legendary speed? The texts specifically note it is not a refreshing breeze, it is a predatory blur. Makes you wonder if the information you're being fed right now is entirely straightforward, doesn't it?
Section 4. Weapons of the Mind. Let's step just a bit further into the shifting, deceptive maze. If these entities don't use physical force to capture a soul, what on earth do they use? You see, they never ever win through brute strength. They are the patrons of forbidden knowledge, hermeticism for Hermes, black magic for Mephistopheles. They capture their prey through silver-tongued rhetoric, through finding legal loopholes in cosmic law, and through vastly superior intellect. Language itself becomes the weapon that binds the traveler.
And of course, they never show you their true face, because neither possesses a static, true form. Hermes is literally the god of disguises and trickery. Mephistopheles famously appears as a stray poodle, a wealthy nobleman, or a well-read scholar, simply to suit his needs and lower his victim's guard. I mean, it is entirely possible that a demon might just put on a scholar's voice to quietly guide you through an explainer exactly like this one.
Now consider the tools they carry. The caduceus, the staff of Hermes, is usually recognized today as this bright symbol of medical healing. But in the cold grip of the dark Hermes, those intertwined serpents become a scepter of hypnotic control. It weaves a web. It becomes the patron symbol of the double-edged prophecy and the legalistic destruction of a soul, paralyzing the mind entirely before it strikes.
So, the texts present us with a crossroads of our own right now. As the source material itself asks, would you like to explore how this dark Hermes specifically influences the alchemical shadow in literature? I thought you might. Let us turn the page.
Section 5. Alchemical Shadows in Literature. We're leaving the safe clinical analysis behind now. The scholar's mask is beginning to slip, and the true, chaotic nature of the ink is revealing itself. The texts define the alchemical shadow as something deeply, deeply malignant. It is the irrational, chaotic, mercurial spirit, and its ultimate goal? To hijack the mortal soul. It diverts the traveler from their natural, destined path, stranding them in those gray zones we discussed earlier, solely to claim the soul as its own private property.
And how exactly does this shadow tempt the soul into giving up its property rights? Not through pain. No, through ecstatic madness. The literature describes it as the lure of finding freedom by completely losing one's mind in wine, in dance, in the chaotic abandonment of rational thought. It openly invites you to surrender your intellect to the predatory blur.
The locked door behind you. We have examined the crossroads and admired the disguises. Now let us look at the terrifying reality of your current situation in this gray zone.
The literature leaves us with this truly devastating realization. In the mercurial gray zone, the boundary between a guide and a captor is entirely intentionally blurred. The messenger who graciously shows you the way out of the abyss is very often the exact same entity who turns the key and locks the door behind you.
You followed the path. You listened to the explanations. You have been led deep into a Faustian void where up and down are no longer clear. So I leave you with one final thought to take away from our time together. As the door clicks shut, whose voice has been guiding you through the dark this whole time?